This is our wonderful friend Marko, Mark Oestreicher, who came and was with us at the Satellites last summer and is joining us again.
Yes.
Shouldn't be breaking news to anyone.
So good.
Is joining us again this summer. So we're holding what we're calling, I don't know why we're calling it this, we're calling it an evening with Marko. So suddenly you've just got top billing.
Oh, a podcast with Marko.
You're just like the support act now.
Yeah, I'm going to sit back.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like it might be over-promising. I mean, I suppose it is an evening. Sure, an evening with, I don't know, a few minutes online with Marko would have been a more accurate title.
A dash and a slice and an ice. Ice and a slice with Marko.
Can I let you into a secret, everybody? Rachel and I have spent the entire day today recording episodes of the Youthscape podcast. So we've had a lot of each other today. We did 8 episodes in a day.
Whoa.
Which is too many.
Too many, too much.
Because it's not like your podcast is like 5 minutes long, right?
Yes. I just was before we got on this call. I was formatting 4 episodes, but mine are much quicker than yours.
You should, by the way, little plug, you should check out 5 Minutes with Marko. It's a brilliant podcast and it is literally 5 minutes long.
Yes.
So we're
my short attention span.
We're getting the equivalent of about 9 episodes
we'll
of Marko tonight then. We'll see.
We'll see.
And also the other thing, people, is I've been awake since 4 a.m. in the car since 4:30 a.m. I've been living on Holy Spirit and caffeine. It's not going to go. I mean, it's only going to be good, isn't it?
It's only
going to go up.
I have to tell you, that just reminded me. On Sunday morning at my church, we're celebrating our church's 30th anniversary right now, and they had free donuts for everybody. And they said that our founding pastor always believed that sugar, caffeine, and the Holy Spirit was the combination we needed.
There you go.
There's something in that.
All right.
True that.
Maybe go and get some sugar.
Go get some sugar.
So just to explain what we're doing for the next little while, not 5 minutes, but also not 8 hours, we are going to talk a little bit about satellites this summer. We're going to give you all the information you need and suggest you very strongly that you should come along. We're also going to talk to Marko a little bit about his experience with us last year, but also we'd love to chat to Marko about anything. So you have before you one of the great youth ministry brains on planet Earth.
I can feel a ping. I can hear a ping. Someone's messaging already.
And so take advantage of it. Yeah. If you want to ask, are you happy to take questions on anything? We should have established this.
No.
Okay. So if you've got a question for Marko, type it into the comments now, and we will do our best to rattle through as many tough questions as we possibly can in the next little while. See how I'm not committing to how long this is?
No, we're just keeping people guessing.
We'll
it's
see.
very exciting.
We'll see.
I'm about to actually join live. I might ask a very difficult question. Let's see what happens. It's very exciting. So, Marko, I have been stalking you online recently, and you do a lot of traveling, meeting lots of people, don't you? And
yes,
I love how you always prioritize youth pastors and young people. I love that. Like as well as your family, we know your family is the center of your world, but I love that. I love that you just champion young people. And so tell us a little story about something that's really encouraged you recently as you've traveled around.
The background for what I'm going to say is encouraging is that at least here in the States, and I'm guessing it's true there also, in this kind of semi post-pandemic period of time, youth workers are still really struggling. They're wondering why they don't have the numbers they used to have. They've tried to reach out to teenagers to get them to come back, and many aren't. And so they're trying to figure out how to reset their expectations, and it's very challenging and hard. Yeah. The encouraging thing is that I just see so many youth workers being thoughtful and intentional rather than just doing what we've always done. Yeah. They're pursuing growth in themselves. They're caring more about leading from value rather than just running a program, right? And I think there's a weird silver lining to how horrible doing ministry in the pandemic was. And that is that it gave us permission, even a demand that we reset some things.
Yeah, good.
And I'm encouraged by how much of that I'm seeing.
So, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do, Marko? So, you obviously travel about, but you know, what is it that you do? And you've obviously been involved in youth ministry for a few years. So, just give us a little bit of idea of that.
Yeah, 40 years of youth ministry, and the first 15 of those, I was a youth pastor in a church. And then for the last 25, I've been leading organizations that train and encourage youth workers. And during those last 25, I've been a volunteer youth worker at my church. So I am currently leading a small group with 11 and 12-year-old boys. Those young teens are really, 11 to 14s are my passion area. So the organization I lead now is called the Youth Cartel, and the main thing we do is youth worker development. We run a year-long coaching program for youth workers, where I just get to see people grow dramatically. I mean, it's so exciting to get to be a part of the transformative work that the Holy Spirit wants to do in the lives of these people that I care so deeply about, which is youth workers. So that's what I do. And I travel a lot because these cohorts of youth workers are in all different parts of the state.
Questions are coming in, Marko. So somebody wants to know, what can we expect from you at Satellites, which isn't like, you know, I feel like when someone invites me to speak at an event, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to be speaking
about. No, he knows.
It's not the finer detail, but it's like,
already talked.
Talk to us about your shirts. Talk to us about, you know, what from you. We're expecting.
I mean, in terms of topics, I can't tell you yet because we haven't landed on that yet.
That's
I mean, in terms of basic schedule, you can assume that I'll do some youth worker training. I'll probably do a seminar or two for the teenagers themselves, and I know I'm going to do one main stage talk. So there are plenty of different opportunities, and I'll be there the whole time hanging out. One of the great joys for me last year at Satellites was how my day filled up with meeting with youth workers, some meeting with teenagers, but mostly it was meeting with youth workers. And I'm just telling you, that is such a joy for me. It's my sweet spot. It's my calling. So more than me being there as a speaker, I would want you who are attending to see me as a resource, and would love to have one-on-one time and talk through the challenges that you're facing.
And we know so many people that really benefited from that. And also so many people that walked around the site and saw you sat outside cafes chatting with people. And that's, you don't always see speakers do that. Speakers often scurry back to little speaker lounges, but not you. So another question, Jenny asks, why is Satellites the best festival to go to? Great question, Jenny. Love that question.
It is a very good question, Jenny.
What do you love about Satellites?
You don't have to say it's the best.
That's Jenny.
Let me answer it in a broader sense first of why I love the festival format, and then I'll address specifically Satellites. I will tell you, it's not as normal here in the States. The much more normal thing here, or the common thing here, is youth groups that go to a summer camp. And I realize that some of you do that also. We have this thing that I find a little annoying in the States, that most festivals are really big concerts with a series of bands. And yes, youth groups can attend those, and yes, there might be some other good things at them. But we don't have things that are all that parallel to the norm that you guys have of these different summer festivals that are kind of like camps, right? Or somewhere between a camp and a conference. I came into Satellites last year, thrilled to be coming, a little intimidated, because it is still a cross-cultural experience for me, right? And I both love that, but it also keeps me on my toes a little bit. I know and trust Youthscape, so I wasn't concerned about a lot of aspects of it. But of course, it was a brand new event. And There were so many things that I loved about it. I mean, it was well organized. There was, especially for a first year out, it was well organized. I love the variety of options
Yes.
for participants, that different learning styles, what they were feeling in the moment, whether it was just an opportunity to play or whether it was opportunity to do something tactile, like create some art or do something like that, or a wide variety of opportunities to learn and dialogue. But there's no question, at the very heart of an event like this, done so well at Satellites, are those main sessions where we collectively meet with God, and the worship time and the speakers clearly centering Jesus Christ, but creating a very safe place in the room. Years ago, a friend of mine who was not in youth ministry, but is kind of a theologian, let's say. So he surprised me by this comment. He said, the real beauty of youth camps and retreats, and I would add festivals like this, is that they are mini monastic experiences. Ooh. And I love that phrase, mini monastic experiences. These are opportunities to pull away and experience a particular rhythm of the day with a very strong focus on Jesus and the transforming work of the Holy Spirit in our lives, all while in community. And when you add all those things together, those practices and the community and the particular focus, it's just this great opportunity for teenagers to experience something that becomes an Ebenezer in their life. Right now, I'm sure you guys, most of you understand that concept, but to make sure, an Ebenezer in the Old Testament was basically a pile of rocks. It was an altar that the people would build as a physical marker of a place where God met us. And I think in many ways, Satellites, the opportunity is for teenagers to create an Ebenezer, a time when they remember taking a step toward Jesus and that God met them.
I love that.
That was a long answer.
That was a great answer. Can we just go back to, I think it was night 4, the first Satellites event, and you stepped up to speak on the main stage.
Absolutely.
Well, it was very good. I have to say, so here's the inside story. Marko and I have genuinely been good friends for like years and years and years.
This is going, Marko.
No, it's good. We've been friends for years and years and years, and I've heard Marko speak to youth pastors like more than 10 times, 20 times, something like that. And he's always done a great job. And so when we looked at who might come and speak on the main stage, we're like, oh, this is an interesting, I mean, bizarrely, a bit of diversity. Guy with a big beard, I've got that. So I'll have him. No, we thought, we were ticking a box, really. But we knew you'd do a good job. When you started speaking, I think all of us, there were text messages going around the team, just going, who's this guy? Yeah. Because we'd seen you speak to youth pastors, and obviously you held quite a lot back. And then you just, you have a blast, don't you? So talk us through, what was that experience like for you? You obviously were having the time of your life, but how did it feel for you to go down? Because you went down so well. So what was it like to connect so well with a room of kids like that in the UK?
Well, there's no question it was one of the high points of my year. It was a wonderful time. I still, after all of these years of doing this and speaking at lots of events, I still get very nervous before stepping on stage at something like this. And, in some ways that's even added to by the fact that it was an assigned topic that I had not spoken on before. So it wasn't like I was just pulling out of my bag of tricks, and with a slightly cross-cultural for me audience, right? But I felt, as soon as I started talking, I felt like I was in the flow of what the Spirit was doing in the room. So I had fun. That's the end of the day. I hope I said some things that were more than just fun. But it was like I got to experience God in that moment myself. And the best word I can describe it is that it was fun, that it was me. This is a big statement. I felt like I was stepping into God's dream of who Marko could be.
Oh,
So, yeah.
wow.
And
And that's so great.
And you know, before Rachel, because we've had loads of questions.
Loads of questions.
Rachel to start asking those. But one of the most amazing things about that evening was that we saw like more than 100 young people kind of stand to make a kind of statement that was like, I want to follow Jesus.
Yeah,
and it was the most incredible thing. But then what we've seen afterwards is so many youth workers get in touch and say, actually, my young person then went and got baptized. And again, you know, the story that keeps coming up is we just got completely taken away by Marko's story of his little fishies. Because there's this kind of little motif about a kid's lunch, right? And you kept talking about fishy wishies.
Yeah, of course, it's not my story; it's Jesus's story.
Oh yeah, it wasn't your story.
Anyway,
I tell you what, I love listening to someone where you think that's a masterclass of how you communicate to young people, and it was. I do think. You know, listen back, people. So it's a really good example of how to do it.
Right. Help if we put it online.
Let's put that flurry of silly and profound.
Loads of questions.
You want silly or profound first, Marko?
I'm sorry, I missed that question.
So I will choose. Here's a very profound one. Will Marko be treating us to any new T-shirt designs this year? Your fans are demanding some fresh designs. Will there be fresh T-shirts?
I should probably like start tracking what T-shirt I wear so that I don't duplicate. Sorry, I can't promise that. I'm sure that they will be stellar. I'm not sure they will be new.
That's fine, as long as they're clean. Another question that about 20,000 people have asked is, can you make sure Martin doesn't wear shorts? I mean, I'm just passing on. I'm just passing it on. I'm just being a spokesperson for the site.
You're making that sound like that's the joke, but at the weekend, my wife found the shorts I wore at Satellites, and she was like, what are these? And they immediately went to a charity
shop. Were they on you? Good.
She was like, why did you ever wear those?
Right, this is a very profound one. Alice has said, I'd love to know what Marko is reading, listening to at the moment. Ooh. What would be your good sort of
Alice.
What's good to listen to?
So what I am reading right now is a book about Indigenous people's perspectives about Scripture.
Come on,
and the reason I am reading it is because I am wrestling with where does God want me to be, not only in terms of that question in general, but specifically in terms of helping youth workers think through questions about short-term missions. And I'd really I don't want to be perpetuating colonialism, right? So I went to Alaska on a mission trip last summer and took some youth workers, and that question came up quite a bit, and it was something I just felt like I needed to learn more about. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. I've got a book about belonging on my stack to read next. It's a topic that I care a lot about. I just finished a book about ministry with LGBTQ teenagers. What am I listening to? I listen to a lot of podcasts, and many of them are a variety of youth ministry podcasts. I'm not saying this to just blow smoke. I listen to every episode of the Youthscape podcast.
Oh, no,
usually the week it comes out, every time. Yep. And then I listen to quite a few podcasts for fun.
Bless you. Oh, that is amazing. That's great. There's another reading related one, actually. Can I read that one?
Just remember, if you want to ask a question to Marko, this is a great opportunity. Just post it in the comments right now, and we'll get through as many as we can.
And they're coming directly to us. So we love our young people to engage with the book before Satellites. Wow. Last year, we read Martin's Satellites books. any suggestions for this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll tell you why, because there aren't really many British kind of books for teenagers that come out. So if you know actually of a great book that we could import, great to hear about it.
I don't know. That's one of those questions that I'd have to spend some time thinking about. And part of that is I'm not yet fully clear of what the topical focus is this year. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have an immediate answer to that one.
That's fine, but that is Jenny. That one has got us thinking. So good on you. Oh, I love this one. We attempted this one today, actually.
Oh no, this is bad.
So Alex,
it's like a dream dinner party one. Just start thinking now.
So Marko, Alex has said, if you could have dinner with any two people, present or past, can we sort of limit, Marko, that it can't be biblical characters? Shall we just kind of?
Yeah, because you can't have Jesus.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Who would you dine?
Jesus is always with me anyhow.
I know, exactly. He's always there. He's still Boston. Who would you dine with? Who would you like to have dinner with?
I mean, this is probably a cheap or obvious answer if you know me, but I'd probably pick my dad. Both my parents passed away of COVID 3 years ago last week, and so that would probably be my first pick. Who would I pick? Let's think of a historical character. Well, okay. Here's what comes to mind. This is weird, but it's a guy I hate. Okay. In fact, I have regularly said that if I could punch any ghost in the throat, this would be my second choice. My first choice would have to be Hitler, of course. But then this guy named Stanley Hall. Stanley Hall, I blame him. It's kind of unfair, but I blame Stanley Hall for a decade and a half of damage to the people that I love the most, which is teenagers. Because Stanley Hall in 1904 is the one who wrote the widely, pervasively held view of who adolescents are. And it was based on a stupid theory that's no longer credible by anybody. But a question maybe you guys have heard me ask before that I always want youth workers to wrestle with is, do you see teenagers as a problem to be solved or as a wonder to behold?
Yeah, okay.
Right. And I believe God's perspective is that they're a wonder to behold. And that framing means that we understand behaviors and emotions and thought processes in a different light. Stanley Hall saw them as a problem to be solved, and he defines teenagers or adolescents is the term he would have used in a wholly negative way. And he would have said that by evolutionary necessity, they're living through a time of storm and stress. They have to be moody, rebellious, and all these things. And the problem is that Stanley Hall set this norm that was widely accepted, not only here in the US, but around the Western world. And our general cultural understanding of young people today is anchored in Stanley Hall's stupid, ungodly definition. So I want to have lunch with him because, not just because I want to punch him in the throat, because I'd be too afraid to actually do that anyhow, but because I want to pepper him with questions. Okay, that was a really windy answer, but
absolute roller coaster. I had no idea where you were going. I was worried at times. So we're just going to break off from questions. So if you've got more questions for Marko, just type them into the chat. But just to tell you about satellites this summer, because otherwise, frankly, we've had a good time and forgotten completely to do it. That's the sort of thing we do.
Just what we do.
So satellites is an event for your young people. It takes place at the Bath and West Showground in Shepton Mallet. What a place. Wow. In Somerset. From the 4th to the 8th of August, you're going to have an amazing time. You can find out all about it at wearesatellites.com. Marko speaking, Rachel speaking, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Others are speaking. We've got some brilliant people returning from last year, like Lauren Windle, and lots of other fantastic people who you'll find out about on our socials or on our website. But please book a group, come along. If you want to talk to us about the logistics of making that work, get in touch. There's a live chat on our website. You can get in touch through that. Get us through social media as well. You can drop us an email, but just talk to us. Let us know if there's an issue, if there's something you're struggling with, like logistically, tell us. One of the things that we have been able to do is meet up and match up groups who are coming from the same geographical area to solve things like cooking and volunteers and transport. So that's something we can do. But just don't put it off for a year.
No.
It's going to be brilliant this year. And you're still, you've got plenty of time to book your tickets. The booking deadline when prices go up is on the 31st of May. So you've got time to get your group together now.
You've got time. Can I just ask? I think every youth worker who came last year will have one question, which is obviously, is Marko going to be there with a nice, clean, gorgeous t-shirt? The second question is Chris Curtis going to be in charge again of the youth workers special secret lounge? Because that was an utter hit. So
we've actually expanded the youth leader venue now over two levels. Wow. So there's like a seminar venue, and then there's a cafe with a lovely balcony.
Oh, wow.
And you can just hang out there. No young people allowed. I always feel dodgy when I say that.
No, it's just that you haven't got to be responsible for those few minutes.
But
have a coffee,
it's a space for you.
Paper.
And that's where you're going to get to hear a bit from Marko and others. And there's a bit of networking, there's plug sockets, there's a chance to be, we offer a service we offer a thing where you can actually have someone pray with you through the week. So we'd love to invite you into that as well.
And they paint their nails at the same time?
I don't think so.
I just think it'd be
but the coffee is great. The coffee is free. There's always cake.
Always cake.
And it's a beautiful place. So yes, that is there for you. Also, we have a fantastic children's venue.
That's the third thing I wanted to ask.
So we have a brilliant children's venue run by wonderful Charles Merritt, who and with his team are going to be running events for 5s to 11s, which mirror the main youth program. So the idea is that we kind of input the same ideas for children as for young people, so that when they grow up, they will feel like they totally
Well, interestingly, because my 11-year-old now, she was in Charles's group last year with my 4-year-old, and they adored it. And my 11-year-old now knows that when she comes to Satellite, she can go to the youth, but she's in two minds.
Yeah.
Because she genuinely absolutely loved the sessions with the kids program. So you're developing a beast.
You never went to that, did you?
That will run on its own. It's awesome.
Yes,
it's so good.
This is an interesting question for you. How do you feel about children's ministry?
Oh,
because often in youth ministry, when
you like them.
I mean, 2 thumbs up for children's ministry is not my calling.
There are so many kids that come on site because they're part of the church structure of the families. It's really great that our program for children is not a babysitting. And so
it's for the kids of team and youth leaders on site.
It is
By the way, if you're interested in coming as a team member, my goodness, we really need you. We need to recruit about twice as many team this year as last, because we have a bigger site, we have a bigger number of people coming. So we'd love you to recruit people from your churches, bring a whole bunch of people. We go through a safe recruiting process, but it's really simple and straightforward, and you can serve in whatever way you feel you want to. Is that enough? Is the plug enough? We go back to the questions.
There's some really good, I absolutely adore Satellites, and we had so much fun, and I could spend ages telling you stories of my minibus, regale you stories of my minibus thing, but I'm not going to. Right. Okay. There's a bit of a theme. I think people have understood your fun-loving nature. Best friends with the person in the Bible, who would you go by? I think you're not allowed to say Jesus. So if you've been best friends with anyone in the Bible, Martin, you can answer this as well, actually.
Oh, Peter, 100%.
Peter's
one.
Who would you be best friends with, Marko?
It's a good answer. Peter's definitely the disciple that I'd be most interested to spend time with, because I've always been. Peter encourages me that I can be a disciple.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Because he's such a screw up. Just last Wednesday night in my small group with my 11 and 12-year-old boys, our focus was talking about Peter's denial and reinstatement. And it's just such a great example. Here's a guy who put his foot in his mouth in so many ways, and yet Jesus said, "You're the rock," right?
Yes.
And that's just really encouraging to me. I'll tell you another person I'd like to have lunch with. I don't think I need to be BFFs with her, but I really would love to have a meal with JL.
Yes.
And if you don't know the story, listeners, if you don't know the story of JL, please, you've got to. It's such a fun one to talk about with teenagers because most of them have not heard it before.
No.
Yeah.
Right. I think Deborah, for me, you know, she wasn't stepping up to the plate, so she was like, right, I'm going to do it. Then I love that. I love the sassy Elijah. I'd love to be with Elijah, both when he's needing that raven's food and also when he's calling down fire in the prophets of Baal. Right.
There's more.
Would you?
Oh, here's another one. Another answer for you on that one. I would love to hang out with Josiah when he was a teenager.
Oh.
Actually, no, I can see that one. That's awesome. And you look for Josiah in the young people you meet, I'm sure. I know. So, Marko, would you rather speak? And this is interesting. Would you rather speak to youth pastors, or young people themselves? If someone was like, Marko, youth leaders over there, young people over there, you're going to do one talk, which would you choose?
Youth leaders. But I love speaking to both. So if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, that would be hard because I get so much life out of both. But if I had to pick one in the moment, I just love encouraging and challenging youth workers.
And actually, what I love about what you said is that you've really centered the youth leader in the pastoral and discipleship of young people. And I think that's what Satellites does really well. It's saying this monastic encounter that you're talking about, these deep wells, these memory forming moments. It's wonderful if that's somewhere like Satellites, young people are also associating that with the adults that are going to be there for them day in, day out, not just the ones that are going to be on a platform who they won't see throughout the year. I think that's so beautiful. Somebody called Jen is very worried, Marko, and has a very serious concern. I'm worried that Marko is needing to wear a jumper in California.
Yeah, what's going on?
It looks warmer in Luton. What's going on?
Is it cold?
It's not cold, but some of you know I lost a lot of weight in the last 2 years. And so I am cold all the time now. I used to be hot all the time, and now I'm cold all the time. So, yeah, it's a beautiful day here, but I did just take off my vest and scarf, and now I'm
saw that. Yeah, Jen, he hasn't got his bomber jacket on.
Just before we move on, if you've got any final questions, we've got time for just a couple. Just put them in the comments now. So I got into a little bit of trouble for talking a bit too much for Satellites when I introduced you about kind of your weight loss, which is, by the by, what's really amazing is the crazy workout regime you've figured out. Are you still going, and is it still going up, or have you leveled?
I've leveled, but I've leveled only because I can't give it more time. So I can do my workout every weekday morning in 50 minutes, 45 or 50 minutes, and I don't want to take longer than that. I did just add something new I'm trying to do. I do 450 push-ups every morning and some other stuff. There have been a few times over the last couple of years where I've seen a pull-up bar and thought I should be able to do one of those, and I couldn't even come close to doing one, and it ticked me off. So I just a few weeks ago bought one that hooks onto a door frame, and I can't do one yet, but I'm to the point now where I can hang on it for 20 seconds. So I'm working up to that.
You just hooked your beard over the top and just hang.
Yeah, that's right.
That is so fantastic. I just think that's an incredible.
What an inspiration.
Discipline.
Does it even hurt now to do if you just do 10 press ups? Is it just like sitting down?
It doesn't hurt to do 10, but it hurts to do 450.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm surprised. Wow.
Absolutely amazing. Well, I think a closing comment that I'd love to ask you is about ages of young people, because I think one thing that really struck a number of people who brought young people last year was how young some of the young people at Satellites were. We're sort of starting from scratch. And it was so refreshing to have you speaking about how much you really love that age group, because I think often even within youth ministries, sort of younger young people are kind of seen as they're not even fully formed teenagers yet. So for anybody who's thinking, well, I won't come to Satellites because actually I'm starting from scratch and I've got maybe a handful of 11, 12-year-olds and they're not really ready to do a festival thing, like what would be your message to them?
They're so ready. Okay, here's a simple framework that might help us. Birth to, let's say, 4 years old are years of discovery. 4 to 7 years old are years of testing. You obviously see that if you spend some time with a 6 or 7-year-old. 8 to 10 years old, roughly, are years of concluding. And by the end of those preteen years, all kids of any belief set or no belief set have cobbled together a bunch of conclusions about themselves and the world. And then the amazing, beautiful God gift of puberty, which brings abstract thinking, and those conclusions start to get questioned in the young teen years. And the young teen years, 11 to 14, become years of discovery once again. And then about 15 to 20 become years of testing, and 20-something years of concluding. Man, I want to be right there in the mix of that discovery. And I find so often that work with older teens, and this isn't a slam on working with older teens, but work with older teens is often corrective, whereas work with younger teens is all about discovering who they are in relationship to others. They're just starting the process of asking deeper questions and maybe even expressing doubts, which I love. Frederick Buechner says doubts are the ants in the pants of faith. They keep it alive and fresh. So that's what I just love. I just think it's a underserved, but incredibly developmentally and spiritually important age of life. And it's a perfect age to bring to an event like Satellite.
Oh my goodness, I'm signing up a load more of our young people.
Love that,
I loved that.
Family
loved that. I do. Because I have a special affinity for the 11s to 14s. They're the group in our church that people love, but they don't want to go near them. And I'm like, I love that group.
You know, I've got one last thing I want to ask you about, Marko, just before we close. And I'm really asking you to condense quite a lot of thinking and a talk I've heard you do in like 35 minutes into just a couple of minutes of answer. But actually, like, there's some of the practices that we do when we're gathered for a festival, what in the research they call prayer and spiritual singing, right? Actually has a transformative effect on young people, right? There's actually something that brings young people to life in those practices. Can you just say a little bit about what you've learned in that area?
Yeah, well, recent neuroscience on brain development tells us that the number one and number two practice for developing the part of our brain that helps us to understand and experience God as personal, compassionate, and other than ourselves, the number one way to develop that part of the brain is prayer and meditation. And the number two way is, they call it spiritual singing, what we would call worship singing. And so this is among many other things, Satellites is a week of intense experience of those practices. Now, it's not that their brains are going to get rewired in 1 week of time, but hopefully we can start them on a pathway of practices that will allow them to partner with Jesus on the restoration of their own minds.
Oh.
You did that in 1 minute.
Oh, I mean, honestly,
what a pro.
This is food for our souls. So, Marko, thank you. Sat on your porch in California, in the sun, in the noon, and we just love you so much. And we just love how you invest in leaders here in the little UK where it rains mostly. And I just feel Martin is just stroking the beard that he wants to have.
I've got beard envy, massive beard envy.
Just want to be more like Marko. That's a good thing. Follow Marko as he follows Christ.
I love that.
So
Thank you so much, Marko, for making the
Love
time.
you guys. Looking
Uh,
forward to the summer.
We will
Bye-bye.
see you in the summer. Book in for satellites. All the details at www.wearesatellites.com. That seamless transition then.
Yeah.
Can we go a bit longer now? Because we there appears to be a second mode. I didn't know
Because
about.
we've done hours today of chatting. I've got loads more to say to you.
Really?
Loads more. Yeah, we need to we need to talk about that incident as well. That was just a naughty one.
You know we're still online, right? So you can please come, please talk to us about coming along. We'd love to talk to you. Visit our website, wearesatellites.com, for all the info. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the summer.